Okay, I think we're live now. I'm not so sure if my intro went through. I'm working again with, with some new software, and there's always some glitches here and there. I'm Chris Gajulo. I'm an associate broker and licensed real referral specialist for Realty Connect LLC. This is my podcast, Real Estate with Mr. G, and it is Sunday, 7 p.m. We are live. I'm getting all my updates that we're live. Um, it's Saturday, January 28th, now about 7:01 p.m. And we're going to start our podcast now. Um, we're going to talk about three factors that affect home affordability. But again, I want to tell you a little bit what I'm doing now. I am working for as an agent, okay, for Realty Connect LLC, and I have the ability to find you a house or list a house in all 50 states. Well, you say, well, how do I do that? Well, you'll be if you contact me and we have sort of like a either a buyer's consultation, seller's consultation. We talk about the market. And then if you're looking anywhere where I'm located in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, or if you're moving outward, uh, could be as far as San Diego, California. It could be down in Florida. Anywhere, I could refer to you an agent through Realty Connect LLC. Actually, if I know of one, or you go on my website, um, which is real estate with mrg.com or real estate with mrg.us, you will put in the area that you're looking for and you'll be brought to at least or a minimum between two or three agents in that area who are very good in the field that they work in. And you could choose an agent from there to help you secure a new home or list your um, current home. Okay. And the benefit again is that you're actually getting like two agents for one with one, and I could help you along with that process. I can't show you a house, I can't list a house. Okay. I have to refer everything to them. I decided to do this once I hit 65 years old. I know I don't look it, but I decided this is how I want to do my business now. And I'm doing some other things, marketing my website and blog, and I'll talk about that more throughout the coming months, on what I'm working on. Okay, so let's do a little introduction with what I'm doing now. So, okay, I told you I have new software. I bought a new computer too, and for some reason, it kicks back and forth between these two speaker systems, and I didn't have any sound, so I had to make sure Facebook was showing the sound, and which it was showing the sound, or the sound was appearing, and I think we're good. I want to check one more thing here. I apologize when you do this kind of like all on your own. You want to make sure these things are actually working. Yeah, I'm actually live on LinkedIn under my profile activity. I don't know if it's streaming out to everybody unless you go on my LinkedIn page. So this is like very interesting. Let me see. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. Okay. You know the social media world, the whole tech world is constantly changing and developing, and new software is coming out, and you learn on the fly. Okay, you really learn when you actually start using it. You can read about it, but you have to actually use it. It's sort of like a trial and error. All right, but anyway, sounds like it's coming through. All right. So, what are we going to talk about today? And we're going to talk about the three factors that are affecting uh, affordability of homes. And I actually, when I was driving today, I had on the news. I actually had on MSNBC. Okay, and there, I learned out today. I'm going to read more about it. And actually, I read some articles before I went on live about just going to. It seems like Biden has re-upped or renewed the renters' Bill of Rights and other items that are in the 1968 Fair Housing Act. Now, with the renting Bill of Rights, of course, the big issue is affordability, right? Because the rents have skyrocketed, and there is going to be perhaps ways where they could put caps on that. I got to read more about it, but I think it has to be done. Um, you know, during the year, I'm writing up my items that I want to cover this year and work on, and I really want to talk about real estate and where it may not be fair or equitable for everybody. And I have some topics I know I want to discuss already, maybe controversial, um, but since real estate, the buying and selling of real estate affects people, right? About just having shelter, uh, that uh, is very important, right? To people's lives, that they have a place to live, that they don't get kicked out or foreclosed upon if some bad things happen. And and a lot of things have been happening that I want to talk about uh, that I think uh, real estate needs to keep an eye on, or maybe the government has to step in and put some restraints on it. And then, of course, some people can say, "Oh no, we don't want the government to get involved." You're not selling hot tubs, you're not selling coffee makers, these new beautiful high-end ones, and you could charge a little bit more. People don't have to have such an expensive coffee maker. They could go down to a Walmart, a Target, and get one for $20, or they could go and spend lots of money on these very high-end coffee makers. But you could still exist, right? You could still go about your business, go to work. But if you're thrown out of your home and you find out you cannot find another one, well, that's not a good thing. So there shouldn't be any caps on coffee makers or hot tubs or, I don't know, big screen TVs. But there has to be some sort of controls when it comes to real estate. That's what I really feel strongly about. Okay. And in future podcasts and maybe some videos I will do, I'm going to talk about these things. I guess uh, I'm going to be more of a loose cannon now because uh, I'm kind of semi-retired. All right, I'm still doing this. I don't know if I'm actually should say retired, but I'm not doing the labor intensive things right now, like showing homes, which is labor intensive, right? You have people who put an offer on the house on the first house they see, and some, you know, see 20 to 30 houses, and I've had both. I probably had more of the ones who saw many homes as opposed to the ones who said, "This is, I just want to see this is the one I've been looking for, and I want it." Okay. Also, when it comes to listing homes, you can have a home that will go within a week's time, and then you will have ones that will linger and linger, and you scratch your head and trying to figure out what else can I do to market this home. Okay, this is very consuming, very labor intensive. All right, but now I think I'm going to try to work on shaking up the industry and see what I can do. Start some controversy, and it might not even be controversy, but uh, in the real estate industry, you always have to be. We've always been told to make everything positive. Okay, it's always a great time to buy. It's always a great time to list. Well, sometimes it's not, and maybe unless you truly, truly, truly have to move, or you truly, truly, truly have to sell your home, then you just have to do it. But there are some times that maybe you should wait, either as a buyer or as a seller. Okay. All right. Let's look at today's uh, handout here, my PDF file. So, three factors that affected home affordability. So, a lot of reporting agencies, whether it's through uh, Economist or whether it's through the Realtor organization or the banking organization, and they're saying that key factors that determine housing affordability are projected to improve this year. Okay, and that's what we really hope for. Excuse me. Now, one thing we have been seeing um, in the last few weeks is that mortgage rates are easing up a little bit, right? And even though the Federal Reserve has increased the federal funds rate, and that's actually the rate that banks borrow money from the Federal Reserve, and then it usually snowballs down to the mortgage industry. It's been easing up a little bit. Okay, so at the big, well, not at the beginning of the year. We just have the beginning of the year now, but they shot up over 7%. They're a little bit lower now, below 6. Um, I imagine maybe depending on how much money you can put down, you may be actually getting maybe in the high fives. So this is good news. Of course, it's good news because your monthly mortgage payment will go down, right? We'll look at this area here. With a 6% rate instead of a 7%, buyers pay about $2,700 less every year. That's not per month, it's every year on their mortgage. As a result, owning a home becomes affordable to about 1.4 million more renters and 4.3 million more homeowners. Okay, so this is a good thing. But you're not going to see what we had over a year ago from 3%, maybe at times even below 3%. We're not going to go back to that. And basically, even before this movement, we kept on predicting, as realtors, because we want you to buy now. Going back 4 or 5 years, we kept on saying the rates are going to go up, and the rates are going to go up, and they never went up. But I think we reached this point now where it's this point of no return that they had to go up, and they might drop a little bit, but it's not going to go back down to 3% unless something drastic happens to the economy. Okay, so home prices they have fallen a bit. All right, we're no longer in that period of time where um, people are offering to tens of thousands, from a few thousands to tens of $1,000s over the asking price. We seem to be out of that right now, and people were, when I say people, buyers were foregoing the home inspection, all right, because they don't have any type of impediments with getting the house, any type of blocks along the road. So they were giving up the home inspection, or they did a home inspection only for informational purposes. So let's say they found out, that the HVAC system wasn't working, and that could be from 5,000 to 20,000, depending what's wrong with it. If they found that out, they just dropped out of the contract. They were released from the contract. Um, but if it was something where maybe carpets had to be cleaned, um, cabinets had to be fixed or repaired. Maybe there was some doorknobs missing. The new buyer, would just take care of it and say, "All right, let's continue with the contract." They asked for no repairs whatsoever. And now the biggest thing too, and hopefully this is happening for a lot of people, because we do have inflation, is that wages seem to have been increasing. And we have this lovely graph here where we show it constantly going up. All right. So really, this actually goes up to the third quarter of 2022, and it's at the highest point. So as your pay goes up, you'll be eligible for a higher mortgage. Basically a higher mortgage on a you know more expensive home because the home prices have gone up. So because of these higher wages, uh, many buyers have renewed opportunity in the market. Okay, so there are things that affect. This article that was on my blog talks about three factors that affect affordability. All right, meaning the buyer can afford a house. Again, will be mortgage rates, home prices, and wages. Now, I subscribe to about 4 or 5 different resources, from the New York Times to the Wall Street Journal to Barron's to Fortune magazine to Business Insider, which I really like Business Insider because it's not always, when they talk about, especially the real estate market, they tell it the way it is. All right. They're not really hiding any bad stuff. Because sometimes the most positive way of dealing with negative news is to hear it and then find out how to work with it. That's a lot better than thinking that right now the real estate market is great and let's move along. They talk about what's going on, but then you dodge, and it's like a boxer, uh, dodge and bob and whatever it's called. You go with the punches, right? And you try to work out a solution. That's more important than trying to make everything look good. You got to be optimistic because you got to figure out how to solve problems, right? So you don't want to get depressed and not do that. But you have to deal with reality and how to work with it. All right, you can't sugarcoat everything. All right, so that's the article on the three factors that affect uh, the affordability of homes. All right, so hopefully, again, to be positive, you've gotten a pay increase, and hopefully, wherever you are, home prices might have fell a little bit. Even if they fall 8%, they're still well above what they were in, let's say, 2020, because they shot up about from 19 to 22%. So even if they fall some points, they're still much higher than they were about 2 to 3 years ago. All right, so let's look at our new video. Let's see, we did the PDF. Oh, yeah, are we in a housing bubble? Let's take a look at that and see. All right. So we don't expect, and when I say we, I'm talking about realtors, I'm talking about economists, I'm talking about mortgage bankers. We don't see crashing, the market crashing like it did in 2008. And the biggest reason is that uh, mortgage companies or banks are much more careful when they lend out their money. And the prime example, and I've given this example many times, is back in 2007, 2006, uh, banks were offering, and they still are offering, but they're more careful with it now, adjustable rate mortgages. So, let's take a house that was 500,000, for example. I'm going to give that example because there's a famous case of going back up to New York City where I used to live. It was I think it was a Bronx librarian, but it was a librarian, and the mortgage company approved this young lady for a mortgage on an expensive home at a 2% rate. She was able to afford it, but when it went up to 7% or 8%, whatever the cap was, she could no longer afford it, and she lost the house. And of course, a lot of these banks got foreclosed homes. Now, what they're doing now, which is a lot better, you could still get that adjustable rate mortgage, but they're not pre-qualifying you, or qualifying you, I should say, at the 2% in this example. They're going to see if you could afford it once it hits 8%. And if you can, then you would get that adjustable rate mortgage. So that is a big step that is helping um, many buyers from getting foreclosed on the house, because they're being more carefully qualified for the house now, or approved for the house. So that's a big thing. And we don't have that right now. Most people who are purchasing homes uh, really have gone into, or the underwriters really, they dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and made sure that the mortgage application was all covered and reviewed, and the chances of this person defaulting on the loan is pretty slim. It doesn't guarantee it, because there's always something that can happen in somebody's life, right? That they lose a job, they were married and they get divorced, and they can't afford the house, whatever. There's so many situations that come about. But generally, if everything goes the way it should, um, they should be able to afford this home uh, without question. Okay. So even though in between 2019 and 2022, we had uh, the home prices going up insanely, um, the ones who had purchased these houses were really vetted in a very discreet way, or well, discreet, but or a very careful way, uh, or diligent way that they will most likely not default on the loan. Okay, um, and the best thing too is that the appraisers stood at their values, the true market values. So let's say, you know, the house uh, uh, was, let's say, put on the market, just since we're talking about 500,000, for 500,000, but there's a whole bunch of competing offers, and you put an offer at 550. They kept the appraised value, at what they really felt is the market price, not the contracted price, but the market price. So you would have to make up that difference. You weren't getting a loan for 550,000. You were getting a loan still for 500,000, and you would have to make up that difference. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why we're not going to have a uh, bust in the real estate market because of that reason. And also, I believe, well, everything is showing that the economy is still very strong. We've lost jobs in the tech industries, but it's not across the board. So I don't think we will have the big issues that we had back in 2008. Okay, so that's being positive, right? That's being looking forward. All right, so we did that, and just as a reminder, on my blog, I have the things to consider when buying a home in the winter of 2023, as well as things to consider when selling your house in 2023. And you might say, where do I get these wonderful uh, uh, guides, these booklets for free? And you go right down here to real estate with Mr. G blog and slash resource hyphen materials. But basically, once you come to my blog, you'll see those columns, and you just click on that and you download it for free. Okay. And those are really nice things. All right. So we're getting close up to 30 minutes. I try not to go more than 30 minutes. And so let me get rid of this thing over my face. And I hear from my producer, William Burgess, that we have a special guest in the audience. Is that
Good evening, Chris. Great news, we have a famous celebrity in the audience. A famous juggler from Japan, Hiromoto Kamezaki, has been juggling various objects for the last 40 years. Seen many times on the Ed Sullivan and Jack Parr shows, Hiromoto has stopped by to watch your video podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hiromoto Kamezaki.
correct? That was very good. He's very talented. I'm glad he stopped by. Thank you, Mr. Kamazaki. Or I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but thank you very much. And that is our podcast for January 28th. It was actually a very lovely day. I usually mention the weather at the beginning, but it was a lovely day. Not too cold, not too hot, and that's in lovely Hampton Roads, Virginia. Okay, so I'll see you next week, and always remember the greatest power we have is to love, and the greatest gift, each other. and I'll see you next week.